Hello and welcome to another episode of the Health Hunt podcast. Today I have the gorgeous Aoife O'Sullivan. Hi, Aoife. Hey. We're passing the mic over and back today because I have not got my proper podcast equipment. Yes, it's nearly the end of the year and I still haven't done what I said I'm going to do. So, but it's a next year problem. That's what we've decided. But yeah, I've got Aoife with me here today, who I have met in I would say Bali. No, I've met you in Sydney. And Aoife is known online as Align with Aoife, and her page is absolutely gorgeous. She always puts up really motivating and inspiring videos, and really not just motivating, but really like gets you thinking. Really like, I really love your videos. Like you were constantly whacking at reels, and I was like, I love her vibe. I was just like, I love the energy on this page. So yeah, if you haven't been following her already, definitely check it out. But we're gonna get stuck in today. I'm gonna ask her all about her journey so far, what she does, because she does incredible, very like-minded work with women, and we want to chat about that. And we're going to chat about all things manifesting and everything around that as well, of course, because it's not just about, deciding this is going to happen. There's a lot around it, and I suppose this is what can cause people to like not believe in manifesting as well. Even me, and sometimes I still struggle with, if it's something's not happening, I'm just like, also we can internalize things as well. So we're going to talk about it from as much angles as we possibly can cover today. And yeah, we'll get stuck in. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do?
Amazing. So like that, my name is Aoife. I'm from Ireland as well. And I'm a women's life coach. But like we were literally on about this beforehand. Don't have a defined name for it because like we both cover so much with our work and so many different things. But yeah, I work with my women and like that I focus on like trauma healing, energy clearing, inner child, manifestation, feminine energy, masculine energy, all of that good stuff because I feel like our healing journey, our personal development journey, just our life journey in general, it's not like just do this one thing and you improve your life. It's you have to come at it from many different like aspects and approaches. So yeah, it's just kind of tying all of that together. And were you asking me about my journey?
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So I'm trying to think, like, because there was kind of a step by step like process, but I want to say in secondary school, yeah. So secondary school is kind of where it all started. So it kind of started, I feel like everyone kind of has a similar story when they get in or find something they're passionate. It's like they go through their own stuff. So definitely went through my whole journey of kind of feeling like hitting low moments, many different aspects. So yeah, trying to think where to even begin. So yeah, so definitely going through a few lows in secondary school, kind of just confused with life, confused with everything. And it kind of made me stumble across like this whole like personal development world because the main thing was it was like I was just confused as to why I was feeling certain ways. I was like, because I started getting like panic attacks, anxiety attacks, and I was like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling so low? Like, wasn't loving school, wasn't loving life, wasn't loving myself, and it was just all, yeah, exactly, and it was just all going on in my head, and it was just I couldn't even understand myself more so than anything. Um, so yeah, so that kind of lead me to like looking up on YouTube before the TikTok days. So like looking up on YouTube, I'm like, how to be happy, how to improve your life. And like the reoccurring theme with all of it was actually gratitude. And I was like, okay, there must be something to this. So that was like, I feel like my first step kind of into this like whole self-improvement world. So I kind of started doing that, started learning a bit more about all of this. And I just was really intrigued. I was like kind of gone into meditations, just listening to just them here and there on YouTube. And that was kind of where it all began. But the main thing was I remember like one night in particular, I was just having a very low night. Like I just dreaded nighttime in particular because that's when you're alone with your thoughts, become overwhelming, all of that. And I was just like, I felt so much guilt and shame for like feeling so bad. And I was like, why am I so sad all the time? I was like, I have no reason to feel sad. And I felt so guilty because I was like, I have so much to be grateful for. Like, grew up in an amazing household, like, go to a good school, I have friends, like, everything was like good in my life. I'm really blessed. And I knew that, but I was like, why do I feel so sad and not happy in myself, not happy with my life? And it was like just a sense of like guilt and shame. And I remember just really feeling that because I was like, there's people going through so much like worse. And yeah, a lot of guilt and shame. I remember it was just, yeah, I guess at the time I didn't think I had anxiety, but looking back, it was very clear I did. Yeah. And especially like social anxiety, it was just like, it was always internalizing it on myself, like, oh, well, like, what if I mess up? What if I say something stupid? Like, will this person like me? I'm not good enough. And just like all of those thoughts going in my head. But I remember like I started getting panic attacks like nearly like every night. And I started getting like really worried about myself. And I actually said it to my mom. I was like, I like think I need to get this checked out. So, or like, so I need to do something. So I was starting to get worried about myself because I knew it was all in my own head and I was doing it all myself, but I didn't know how, didn't understand myself, all of that. So like I started going to therapy, and that was kind of between that and looking up YouTube, that was kind of where it began. Um, but yeah, so like that, tried a few different therapists, and I did get benefit out of it, but it wasn't just really aligning with me. Maybe I didn't find the right therapist either. And then fast forward like a few years, started just learning more about like spirituality, manifestation, all of that kind of stuff. And I just started kind of having like my own breakthroughs. But then I kind of came into the whole world of like healing. And I remember during lockdown, I did like this group program. It was like, I did it because I wanted to manifest better and get more in my feminine energy. That was kind of like how she was selling the course. I wasn't expecting there to be like all the trauma healing, all the deeper work that I didn't really know existed. So I kind of stumbled into it, but in the best way possible. I still remember the first group call we were doing like inner child, and she was like, oh, like expect to cry, leave out your emotions. I was like, okay, this doesn't involve me. Like I had a great upbringing. I was like, okay, yeah, just go through it. I'd say not even 10 minutes into it, I was bawling my eyes out. I was like, oh wow, okay. And then everything just started making so much sense, because even though I had like such an amazing upbringing like that, I knew I was so fortunate. But like there's like what I know now is like all our beliefs are created in childhood. We create like our programming, like we have these traumas that we are carrying through. And yeah, like I wasn't even aware of it. And I thought like if it was sold as that, I wouldn't have done it, because I was like, that's not me.
Yeah.
But everyone has it. And it's like, it's creating all these beliefs that I'm not good enough, that I was still carrying around like to, yeah, up until then, essentially. And yeah, that was kind of how I got into it. And then once I started doing all the work on myself, I just noticed the difference in myself massively, because I felt like I was doing all the mindset work. I was like doing positive thinking, but I was like, why am I still feeling so anxious? Why am I still feeling so crappy? Why? Like, I just didn't make sense to me, because I was like, I'm doing everything right, but it's because I had still so much like bottled up emotions, bottled up trauma, all of that, still so many limiting beliefs. So until I kind of worked through that, like life just got better. And then I just became obsessed with it all. And yeah, decided I wanted to do that and help other women, essentially. There you go.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. Very inspiring journey. There's so much in that as well that like everyone listening is going to get so much value from. But I really want to touch on what you said about like women and their emotions and like that aspect of like, but like I didn't have it that bad. And for anyone listening, it doesn't matter how bad things were or were not for you, right? If we actually think about like even current events and what's happening right now, people have such guilt and shame for like carrying about their normal daily lives. And I hear you, I absolutely hear you. But if you do not, like what you said, kind of like a bottle, if you do not open the lid off that bottle and deal with what's going on within you, you're going to continue to operate from that place of lack, from that place of unworthiness, from high anxiety, etc., etc. So, you know, you can continue with that story of things weren't that bad. I don't really need to seek support. I don't really need to change. I don't really need to go into this stuff. And even like what you said, you wouldn't have gone near any of this healing work if she was telling you like telling you the reality of what it was going to be. You're going to continue to say the same. Okay. You may change little bits. We're always changing, we're always evolving, but the massive transformation happens when we really go that little bit deeper. Like even with manifesting, with relationships, with going for jobs, whatever it is, you're going to operate and limit yourself based on what you have created beliefs wise. And with honoring your emotions as well, like you were trying to think that there's no reason for me to feel like this. I need to find a reason. I can't just let myself be with myself and let myself honor what my body's feeling right now. And it continued to grow and build and result in like very chronic panic attacks. You poor thing, you poor chicken. Yeah, I can relate to that as well. I felt like I was in a constant state of panic and fear, like very much so. And I remember when I had my first panic attack, I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what the fuck is happening in my body? And I was like, there's this weird thing happening to me right now. Like, what the hell? And I was but I was like, why would I get anxiety? Like, I've nothing to be anxious over. I'm not a little anxious weirdo. It's such a stigma. And like what I said about internalizing it, I was internalizing everything. I was stigmatizing myself. So it's so common. And even with like hormones and gut health and stuff, we always have this kind of belief that things aren't that bad. Don't wait until things are bad enough that you need, like, you're at a rock bottom. Now, unfortunately, like, I can't even give that advice out because like that's what I've done in the past. I've waited until I've got a rock bottom, and I needed that rock bottom for me to be like, okay, this needs to fucking change. I need to do something about this. And I even did like a blog post I remember years later about like talking about mental health and depression, and I was talking about how I felt immense guilt that used to consume me because like who am I to be depressed over me being a little privileged white girl who can go to college and have these amazing opportunities. But your circumstance, it's not really about your external world. It absolutely can be. It absolutely can be about your environment. It can be around the people that you're with, how they treat you, but it can also be your perceptions and your beliefs and how you talk to yourself, how you show up, etc., etc. So this is really the value and the benefit of working with life coaches, therapists, whatever. I love what you said about like therapy. It didn't really do everything for you because ultimately we were just chatting before about how life coaching can have like a bit of a stigma. But really, if you want to move forward and you want to start changing your current reality, you want to start to work with a coach. I'm not saying that therapy is not good. It's amazing in so many different ways, as is counseling, as is talking to your pals. Like there's so much benefits to it. But we're talking specifically in the conversation today about moving forward and changing your reality and manifesting. And there is those deeper beliefs to kind of work through, and you can ultimately seek support with it as well. So you touched on, I suppose, the aspect of that that's like drawed you into that course was feminine energy and kind of creating a little bit more about like that. What have you like embodied from that? What have you learned from that? And what have you really found valuable in doing that?
Oh, amazing question. There's so much in that. Um, yeah, so I suppose like when I first started learning about all feminine energy, like it was just so new to me, and I'd never I feel like it's a lot bigger topic now than it was a few years ago when I first started learning about it. So it just like sparked interest because obviously as women it's innate within us. So of course it's going to spark curiosity. So I feel like there is a bit of a misconception like around feminine energy or like being feminine. So it's like you think, oh, being feminine, that's about being girly, being soft, being just like a little kind of, yeah, exactly. Which isn't what it is, because what I've learned is like when, like as women, like 90% of women in the world, like we are feminine at our core. But a lot of us were living out of our masculine energy, especially being in big cities, like the hustle culture, the go, 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 the grind, constantly doing, constantly achieving. We're living out of our masculine energy, which is all head dominant. It's your logical thinking, it's being assertive, grounded, kind of doing. And whereas like the feminine, it's more like a step back. So it's like receiving, flowing, being in touch with your emotions, your vulnerability, your sensual side. And yeah, just all about like receivership. So it's not saying that one is right, one is wrong. Like all genders, we both have energies within us. It's just like as a woman, if you are too in your masculine energy, it leads to burnout. It leads to your hormones getting dysregulated because you're so stressed. You're like just feeling dissatisfied with your life because like you're so out of touch with your body. You're yeah, so it's like when you tap back into like your feminine energy, that's when you're actually able to receive like the little pleasures of life. Like life gets better, you feel more confident, you feel better in yourself because you're in touch with your body. Like feminine energy is directly related to your confidence. So yeah, it's just about like essentially coming home to you and coming back to that. But what I have learned, which is like a major key, like obviously with feminine energy, it's like when you dress up, it's like it can make you tap into that, but there's no right or wrong way to be feminine. It's completely like down to you. It's just more of an energy than a look. Like some girls might love to dress like grungy, and like that's when they feel their best. That's when they feel empowered, when they feel good, and it's like tapping into that. Or you might be like more pursy, flowy girl, and like none is right or wrong. And especially even as women, it's like we have so many, I feel like, different versions of ourselves, different versions of the feminine, especially as we like move through our cycle, the different phases of the month of our cycle, and allowing to flow through us. And yeah, so where was I going with that? Oh yeah. So like it's not necessarily about like looking pretty or like dancing, doing all those things are amazing, but for you to actually come into your feminine, you need safety. So this can come back to many different things. So it can like stem all the way back to childhood. It's like you might actually see the feminine as unsafe, see the feminine as weak. So it's like that's why you were living in your masculine. So maybe like one example could be maybe your dad was coming and going a lot, or maybe he was away a lot with work. So that could have created the belief for you, like men leave. I need to put up my walls. I need to protect myself. So it's like you step more into your masculine energy, or like maybe hurts in past relationships, like all these little things, they make you build up your walls. You're like, I need to protect myself, so it's not safe to go into your feminine. Or maybe it could just have been the example, maybe your dad was the main breadwinner in your house, so it's like, okay, like dad was the one making the money, so he was like quote unquote successful, so for me to be successful I need to be like dad, aka in my masculine. So it's like we create all of these beliefs that aren't necessarily serving us. So that's where like the healing and actually going back to the roots and addressing the beliefs are so important, because it is all about safety. So yeah, even like in a relationship, like you need to have first the safety in yourself to be able to tap into your feminine, but also like in that relationship. So like with or masculine, feminine energy, it's like you need to have polarity. So whether it's like a heterosexual relationship or like same sex relationship, it's like you need the polarity. So it's like, let's say if I'm like me and my boyfriend, if I show up more in my masculine energy, that's essentially going to force him into his feminine energy, because you need the polarity. Like it's not necessarily about the gender. So it's like you need to have that safety within yourself, and of course you need to feel safe within that relationship from to be able to step back into your feminine energy. So like I was saying again, it's not that one is good, one is bad. It's like we have both energies within us, and it's about, I suppose, learning to dance between the two. So let's say like we're both like running our own business, like we still need masculine energy to get stuff done, or else like we'll be just floating around all the time. So you still need that masculine like discipline, get stuff done. But it's about like still bringing in the feminine energy. How can you add more pleasure to that? How can you add more pleasure to your day? Where can you take more breaks, or whatever it may be? And also like a side of us that like it confused me at the start, because I was like, I thought like feminine energy was just all about feeling good, like your sensuality, like receiving pleasure, but it's also embracing all of your emotions, which I think is a very important part. Because I definitely used to demonize, let's say, my like low vibe emotions, and I was like, okay, no need to be in this good vibe. So, but it's about like the feminine expression. Like we multifaceted, we have so many emotions, and it's embracing them all. And yeah, not shaming yourself first, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, allowing yourself to express whatever the emotions it may be, whether it is happiness, sadness, grief, hurt, anger, which is an emotion that a lot of shame comes with, especially as women. And like anger, like it's just an emotion. They're not good or bad. It's just how you express it. So obviously if you go punch someone in the face, that's not the best way to express your anger. But it's like channeling it in a way that it actually releases it from your body and you're not holding on to it. Yeah. So essentially.
That's amazing. Yeah, again, so much in there. She's a wealth of knowledge. But no, I love so many aspects. One thing I want to touch on is the anger and the menstrual cycle as well. Like that's one thing that I've been working on with clients recently, and giving them permission, them giving themselves permission, and me holding space, to deal with anger in a healthy, productive, effective way is revolutionary. And this comes back to like the good girl mentality, right? The good girl mentality is that we've got this conditioning that you should be a good girl, you know, you should be polite, you should give everyone a hug and a kiss, even if you're uncomfortable doing it. You should never break the rules, you should always smile, all this kind of stuff. And the feminine isn't just being in line, isn't just showing up this way of always being happy, always being positive, always being like that's toxic positivity, right? So like also with anger, we may have this like view of anger when we're younger that showed up in childhood of like violence, or it's very much like what you said, shamed or judged or whatever, or like that person's out of control, or don't be like them, or don't be a psycho, or don't be whatever. So we can carry this within us, and if you don't give yourself the space and permission to release your emotions, they're going to stay within, like absolutely going to stay within. And chronic suppressed anger can lead to depression, like based on your nervous system and how that works. If you're chronically hyperactive in your fight or flight, your body will adapt and shut you down into your freeze response. That is depression. Okay. So like we want to be able to help you, right? So we collectively need to learn how to process anger. Like, I suppose even I can give you some tips. So obviously the go-to is great with journaling, coaching, therapy, whatever, talking to people about it, getting it off your chest. But somatically, it's really, really beneficial to release it. So built up, pent up anger, that built up high energy. Two go-tos: scream into a pillow, punch a pillow, rage dancing as well. Yeah. I've yet to do rage dancing. I feel like I haven't been that bothered, or haven't been like just like I can't bear to put fucking music on now. But my friend loves to play really like heavy metal music in a car and like just fucking scream and whatever. I'm like, love that for her. Actually, now that I think of that, that's also in what's that show with Christina Applegate in it?
Don't know.
Oh, I can't think of it. There's two of them in it, and they like kill their husbands and stuff, but it's fucking hilarious. They become like Judy and something. Anyway, if you're listening, you'll know what I'm talking about if you've seen it before, obviously. But yeah, she does that as well. And that's like a healthy way to process anger, is to release it and give yourself that space. And you have to let yourself do that at least once or twice, right? Because if you don't, like I said, it's just going to stay built up. You have to let yourself start to release and move energy through your body, right? Energy is emotion, energy in motion. So that was one aspect of it. And again, that shame we can internalize on our body and makes beliefs about ourselves and so on. And you know, when you're in that dysregulated state, when you've got that anger, that high energy, that's not the real you, you know. And if you're in that state quite often, you're like, when I say the real you, it's not like the part of your brain that is like looking for your growth. It's the part of your brain that is operating from survival. So we really want to help you be in a state of your body and your nervous system and your being that is going to help you with your growth and your expansion and being your highest self at the end of the day. And again, safety to be in your feminine. And I love what you touched on about like how it's not just love and light. Like it's really not just love and light. I remember so yeah, for years I would have been hustling. So I actually would have thought that I just wasn't a feminine person. So like I just had this belief that I was very goal orientated, confident, driven, hustle. That was me. That was me to my core. I was an achiever. But what I didn't actually realize was coming from that wounded place, from that place of, you know, not feeling good enough. So I felt that I had to achieve to receive love and be worthy and like be considered as a great person or whatever. And when I started tapping into my feminine energy at first, I really did try to be all love and light. And then I became a pushover with no boundaries. Like very much like I was like, oh, I need to be like going back to that good girl kind of energy. That was what it was. And then it was like revolutionary actually with starting pole and everything last year, like tapping into my sensuality and being bold and being brave and being messy and being flowy and not having such structured days to my work, deciding what I want to do that day. Obviously, I'm quite lucky I can do that. If I have to have a 9 to 5 and I don't have to answer to someone else, but it's quite transformational. And to honor your body at each stage of the menstrual cycle as well is so bloody important. PMS week this week, we're in baggy, comfy clothes. Well, I wasn't yesterday, actually. I was on the beach in the bikini. It's so temperamental the weather is right now in the spring. But honoring it, not beating yourself up, not expecting yourself to perform at such high levels. If your body and your hormones say fuck no, like really letting yourself meet yourself where you're at. That's a huge thing I'm dealing with clients at the minute, is letting them meet themselves where they're at. They feel they need to show up a certain way, even in check-ins. And I see this, loads of coaches talking about this, that they're like, don't not check in if you don't feel like you had a good week, because you actually get to deal with the emotion of the negative week or whatever. There's no such thing as a bad week. You can always learn even more. I think there's more transformation in those weeks. But when you stop acting from this place of showing up in a certain way to be liked, to be accepted, to be worthy, you can actually start feeling good within yourself and having a deeper connection with yourself at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm obsessed.
I just feel like when you do just learn about like the phases of your cycle, you just have so much more compassion for yourself. It just helps you understand yourself so much more, even just like the basics of like the different phases. And it's like, so you're not judging yourself. Okay, but I had so much energy last week and I got so much done. Why can't I be productive this week? Why don't I feel as good this week? And it's just understanding, it's to do with your hormones, it's to do with what phase you are in, and it's not you. And you're able to meet yourself with compassion. And it's like, oh, okay, this is why, because this is happening in my body. So it's like that self acceptance, compassion, and it's just like you said, meet yourself where you're at.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, you are not the problem. But no, but like literally you can actually start to work with your body then, rather than feeling like you're a victim or at war with your body or that you hate your body. You can actually be like, okay, this is not the week for cramming all appointments in. And sometimes it happens, it does really. But when you start to track your cycle, which if you're not already doing, get on that. Even if you're not doing it like with the specific apps, such as like to track your fertility or your ovulation with like natural cycles or whatever, definitely still recommend doing it to have an awareness of what week you could be in, because this will obviously lead to overeating and not responding to hunger, lower energy, maybe not taking as much rest as you need to, not beating yourself up in the gym and so on. Which, by the way, I need to sneak in, my relationship with food course is now live. And I talk all about like appetite regulation, binge eating, emotional eating around your cycle, and different stages of how to set yourself up for success to prevent that. So it's not all your fault. It's not all something that you need to just deal with. There's very much strategies and tools that I teach in my course that can help you move through that. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Well, yeah, we'll get into manifesting. So we haven't spoken about this on the podcast before. We've spoken about it briefly. So obviously people have shared their stories and they've shared like about, I've manifested this and this has come to fruition from this, and it wasn't like manifesting changed my life and whatever. I think I did talk, actually, now that I think of it, in my season 1, I spoke about like my journey with spirituality and that kind of stuff. So refresher, if you haven't listened to that episode, I basically was following the manifestation babe. Do you know her? Yeah, love her vibe, love her energy. She's just like doesn't give a fuck, and she's like, I'm gonna be spiritual but I can curse too, and just really challenging stereotypes and really like helping you be you. Like I love that about her. And she's just like, yeah, I can be rich and be a good person. And that's what the limiting beliefs aspect helps you understand. So I did her course, and her course wasn't just about a 30-day challenge of scripting, right? Because that's what I want to talk about here today, is like how your body doesn't get on board with the beliefs of the words of what you're trying to change. Because so she did like a lot about the subconscious mind, a lot about rewiring your beliefs, a lot about understanding why you don't believe this is a possibility for you. So for example, I want to manifest a car, okay? And for me to manifest that car in this moment, I'm going to set an intention. And there's so many ways to do that. Like there's so many different, like I'm trying to even think, there's like scripting, there's like journaling about it, there's like doing meditations about it. What other ways can you think that people would manifest?
Visualizing would be a big one. Yeah. I feel like they're the most popular. I feel like it's like definitely a big trend on TikTok, and it's like, even let's say like journaling, you see everyone's journaling, everyone's doing like, what were the methods, like the 369 method, whatever it was. And it's like you almost feel the pressure, like, okay, if I need to manifest a car, I need to do this. But it's like you might actually hate journaling. So it's like that's not going to work for you because it doesn't feel good to you. Whereas like visualizing it might actually feel really good to you, or even like scrolling through Pinterest and actually getting ideas, and it's like opening your mind of like what is possible. So yeah, sorry. I feel like they're the main ones, but it's about like kind of not doing what everyone else is doing. Like, okay, no, like all the manifesting
Yeah.
side of TikTok is saying to do this, like I can only manifest if I do this way. It's like that's not necessarily like how it works. It's kind of how it feels to you. It has to feel good to you. And it's still like about incorporating it, even in small ways throughout your day. It's like let's say you see your dream car pass you, instead of being like getting annoyed, like, oh, that person has it, I don't have it yet. Instead, be like, oh, that's for me. So it's like that's a sign it's coming. It's like the universe is putting it in your awareness. So it's like kind of use it as glimmers of hope and like, oh yeah, it's coming, it's getting closer. And it's just like incorporating it in small ways throughout your day. So yeah, get excited about it.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, so that was what I was trying to think. There's so many different methods, and it just really doesn't matter. Like I'm very visual, so I love a meditation that's visualizing and going into like, quantum jumping and, thinking of my higher self and whatever else. I love them and I love getting clients to them. But some people aren't visual, for example. So I love that you said it's like whatever works for you. It's really about, what resonates with you. There's no right or wrong. Like you can literally manifest without like you can just think about something. Like we're always manifesting from our current body, our current self, our current reality. We're currently manifesting to be here in Australia right now because of a point in time that we set out an intention that I want to move to Australia, and it happened. And I want to also help, like I used to be so skeptical. So I was like, but like you're just working towards it. You're just taking action towards doing something. It's not really manifesting. But how it helped me reframe it is it's co-creating. So some people do really just believe in manifesting and it's just given to you and everything's fine. And I think there are certain aspects that happen like that for me, but I do think there are a good few things that co-creation is what's really important. So you're working towards something, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's work or doing. It can be your being. So you're working towards being more in your feminine energy, for example, so you can manifest a more masculine partner or something like that. So that your being on a day-to-day basis is something that you're working towards showing up because it's a version of you that aligns with you, for example. Or you're manifesting a job, so you're trying to decide that you're getting a promotion, so you're going to show up as that version of yourself, act as if that's that version of yourself that has a promotion, that's worthy of a promotion, that knows what she's fucking talking about. So I first started, I'll ask you as well, like, I'm so interested to see when you started manifesting, but I would have started doing it when I was in college. My first memory of manifesting is my course that I got for college. I only put that down on my college coursework, and like the way I was calculating my points, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna fucking get that. And it was just this like, oh my god, what am I gonna do if this doesn't happen, and blah 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 blah. And I was like, no, it's gonna happen. There's no other alternative. Like this is the course that I'm doing. I don't like anything else, and I've decided. And everyone was like, you're crazy. Why are you putting down no other courses on your CEO? I think I put like one computer course or something stupid just because my dad wanted me to. And I was like, am I fuck doing that? Like, I won't even be accepting that if that's the case. And I put it down, and then literally in the morning, it was just like, there you go. Exact same points to get it. Amazing. Which was 10 points up from the year before or something like that. So it was just like, oh, holy shit, this was kind of crazy. Like I didn't have any plan Bs and this worked. So yeah. And then the next thing I remember is manifest my first car. I decided I want a specific car in a specific color in a specific year. Now I'm not a specific manifester, but I decided that I wanted that, and everyone was the exact same. You're not going to get that specific car in a good quality in a good year with low mileage. And I was like, no, I am. I was like, I am. And like that, what you said, like I kept seeing this car and I get giddy, and you don't notice. So again, you setting an intention, your brain has programmed and changed your filtering system so that you're going to see that and seek that outside. And like that, I started to see it more and more and more, and I was like, it's going to happen, but you have to decide and believe. And that's a huge part that I still struggle with sometimes. We'll talk about that in a sec. But yeah, when did you first start manifesting that you can remember?
So like when I first learned about manifestation, it was from Abraham Hicks. Do you know?
Yeah.
So like they opened that like whole world to me. So when was that? I think that I was in between like 5th year and 6th year in school. Maybe it was 6th year. Yes, because that was when I first started learning about it, and I was just like, because I was listening to their videos. If anyone hasn't listened to Abraham Hicks videos on YouTube, I definitely recommend. Like, it was definitely the way they were speaking was a bit foreign to me, but I was so intrigued, and I was like, this just makes so much sense. You know, like some people really need the science to explain it and back it up. Like, I just felt like it resonated straight away. I was like, no, this makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I was just like having these breakthroughs. I was like, oh, so this is why this happened. But I was like looking at it ways like when something bad may have happened to me, like quote unquote bad, I was like, no wonder, like the way I was feeling, the way I was thinking, the vibration I was giving out. I was like, of course I was attracting that. And I was just linking everything together. But I remember like my first like kind of like big manifestation that was like noticeable. I think it was first year at college. It was like me and my boyfriend were going to Amsterdam for like a holiday, and I didn't have much money at the time. So maybe I had like, yeah, moment, I'll go to that in a minute. But I wanted, was it like 600 euro like in my bank account for this holiday? And I was like writing it down, like visualizing it, like doing all the things. I was like, I think it was 600, like a rough estimate. But I was like, I want this amount in my bank account for Amsterdam, like writing it down, doing all the things. Then I'd say like before the trip, maybe I had like 300 in my bank account or whatever. And it was literally the night before, or the night we were getting the flight. Like my boyfriend said to me, he was like, oh, can I send you this money? Because he had lost his bank card. So he sent like 300 into my account. And then so I had the 600 going to Amsterdam. And then when we went over, I like took it out of my account to give him the cash or something like that. So I manifested the 600 in my account. It just wasn't my money. So I remember being like, oh my God, like whatever the figure was I wanted, I got that exact figure in my account, but I obviously wasn't specific enough that it wasn't my money. But I remember that was the first thing I was like, oh, whoa, it works, but like a bit of a loophole or days. But yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, amazing. That's reminding me. I actually went on a trip in college. I think it was my final year, and I was manifesting money for my trip as well because I stopped working in final year of college. I worked like fucking crazy hours the whole way through college, like overtime, and I don't know. Anyways, that's a topic for another day. But I literally got tax back in January just before going on our trip with the gals just after our exams. And I was like, oh my fucking God, I've got money to go. I've manifested this. So yeah, I think that could have been my earliest remembering actually before the college one. But I remember in like what you're saying is like, so I was in science. I was balls deep in science. And I remember being in like the canteen in work one day talking to my fellow scientists and talking about manifesting it and like even being like afraid to talk about it, like, what do you think of this? And like even like talking down about it, being like, but like I don't really like fully believe it, but like, you know, it's like just bashing it, but like trying to see their opinion, test the waters a little bit. And they were kind of like talking about it a little bit, but then very much like, no science to support that, whatever. So Abraham Hicks for me, I would have heard it, but I still wouldn't have fully been like, oh no, that's a load of horseshit.
Yeah.
But I love what you touched on about your vibration and your words and how important that is. So I would have focused on, yeah, I suppose this brings us into like toxic positivity and like your beliefs and stuff. So when I heard Abraham Hicks, I would have been like, well, it's my fault that this didn't happen, or I'm the problem, or whatever. I had a very victim mindset and like a lot of healing that I hadn't done. And for me, that wasn't like empowering. And it was like I was ignoring what my body was actually feeling. And I suppose I had a really good a question. How do we kind of work through I'll be happy when and not being in that mindset when you're manifesting?
Okay, so I feel like you can come at this question from so many different ways, and obviously it depends on your certain scenario, kind of where you like start or where you go from there. So like the I'll be happy when. So it's like if you're always putting your happiness in the future, you're never going to be fully happy. You're never going to be satisfied with what you have. So it's about being grateful for what you have while going for what you want, while still dreaming big, going for those big goals, whatever it is. But it definitely gratitude is a major thing. And I know you can come in it from both ways, but like I know you hear a lot of people talking about gratitude, but it definitely is like such an important thing. Yeah. And I feel like that was where my journey kind of began, was just like doing like writing down my like little gratitudes, and I was just noticing that change in my own vibration. But it's like, because similar to you, I was in such a victim mindset, and I was like, oh, everything goes wrong to me. Of course this would happen to me. Just my luck. Like really in the victim, like everything bad always happens to me. And I was, even though I was like grateful, I was still taking everything for granted. So when I first started properly practicing gratitude, it just makes you feel good in the present moment. You're like, okay, so maybe I'm not living my dream life or I'm working my dream job yet, but like I still have so much to be grateful for. So I feel like gratitude is definitely a major thing for what you already have. And yeah, because the more you practice gratitude for what you have, you can then incorporate, I feel, the manifestation into it. So let's say like feeling grateful for the things you actually truly are grateful for right now. And then you're feeling good, you have that good vibration. It's like then you can start incorporating saying the things you want to manifest, whether it's the car. It's like, I'm so grateful I have this dream car. I'm working in a job that I love. It's like when you're already at that like high vibration, you're already feeling good. That's when you become like a magnet for those things you want to call in, the things you are trying to manifest. So it's like you can, that's also probably one of my favorite ways to manifest. It's like when I'm writing down my current gratitudes, I incorporate the things I'm trying to manifest. Oh yeah, but going back to the question, I'll be happy when. So yeah, so it's about being grateful for what you have while still striving for what you want. Because if you're like, okay, I'll be happy when I get my dream job, then it's like you have your dream job, you're like, oh, like I'll be happy when I go on holidays. And then it's like you're on holidays, you're like, oh no, I'll be happy when I get my routine. It's like you're always putting your happiness in the future and you're not living in the present moment. So it's just unattainable essentially. And then, yeah, I suppose was there more to that question? No, I think yeah, I think that's kind of it.
Yeah, I love that. I've another perspective I can add, but I love that about like we're never going to be happy if we're not happy with what we currently have. And like a big thing for me last year was like when I kind of spoke about it when I was in Bali, and like Instagram was shadow banning me. I was running low on clients, running low on money, running low on sanity, everything. I was like, what? But then I was like trying to question what I was doing with my life, so I wasn't feeling grateful for the fact that I was just basic thing. I'm in Bali, right? Something I wanted so long ago to just be there. It was like I just completely forgot about how amazing my current reality was, or how lucky I am for my current reality, because I was focusing on my problems, right? So I want to like add to this perspective, like love what you said about like, oh, we're always chasing the next best thing, and like I can definitely be a culprit for that. I think in to add to that, two things that are really, really important is to honor your dissatisfaction with where you currently are, because that can help you change it ultimately. Honor your emotions, which I'll come back to, and then also having gratitude for where you are, for the smallest of fucking things. So what, and your language, changing your language around that. So what really helped me was like changing, like I have to I get to. So like I get to run my business, I get to figure this out, I get to live in Bali, I get to blah 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 blah. I have a roof over my head, I have two working legs, I have working ears, I can see. Like not everyone can do that. Not everyone can do that. And when you come back to these very simple basic things, I still have a house or a roof over my head, I still can eat my food, I still have a wardrobe full of clothes. Because if you're always looking at what you don't have, like gratitude is what can help you understand that what you currently have is good enough. It makes you feel that what you currently have is enough. And you, like exactly what you said, you can't manifest from that place of lack. You have to manifest from that place of gratitude and that high vibration of like appreciation for where you are. And that's, I think I've seen a lot of stuff about sorry, I'm absolutely tangenting here, let me come back to the question. I'm like honoring your emotions in the present moment, and this comes into the feminine as well that we're spoken about. Your emotions should not consume you to the point that you're having a full-on mental breakdown every time that you just allow yourself to feel the dissatisfaction, the anger, the heartbreak, the whatever, right? There's obviously not a one size fits all. Some emotions are going to have a different response in your body and in your thoughts, and some can be 2 minutes, some can be a bit of a grieving process, whatever. They can all look a bit different. But when you learn to actually honor your emotions and honor where you're currently at, so giving yourself the space to like accept your current dissatisfaction and unhappiness of where you're currently at, that actually helps you to show up for yourself in the moment and like be with yourself in the moment and connect with yourself. And then you can decide to move forward. So one thing I said to one of my clients was today, she's really unhappy with her current situation, but she's choosing to do what she's doing to get her to somewhere else. So reminding her of that, I am choosing to do this. I am not a victim. No one's making me do this. I get to do this. I am doing this for a higher purpose. This is going to lead me to something else greater that I want. Be grateful that I get to do this in this moment. And that's really what you can focus on if you're unhappy in that moment, is like taking back your power with your language, taking back your power with your perception of how things are the way they are, but not ignoring or suppressing how you're currently feeling. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah.
Add to that. Amazing. No, that's 100% it. Because even like going back to kind of what I was saying, like before, like my journey, I was like, oh, I'm grateful. Like I know I have so much to be grateful for, but like, why am I feeling this way? It's like I was like demonizing those emotions. So I was like, I shouldn't be feeling this. And I was like, my end goal was just, I want to be happy. But it's like, I was like putting happiness on a pedestal that all other emotions are bad, that I only want to feel happy. But it's like, we're here having a human experience. We're here to feel like the full range of emotions and to honor that. And like you said, it's like if you're living a life that like you don't love right now, it's like allow yourself to feel that. Allow yourself like have the meltdown, have the cry, allow yourself be like, I hate this, whatever, like get it all out. Like, because you ever know, like when you have a good cry, like you're like, oh, I feel better now. And it's like you just sometimes need to do that. But it's like it's not staying stuck in that victim mentality, like you were saying. It's like have that cry, have that meltdown, feel all the feels of how much you hate whatever it is. And then after you have that release, it's like, how can you move forward? It's like, okay, like I'm not a victim to my reality, like you were saying. It's like I'm choosing to do this job to get me to where I need to be. Looking at those little things you're grateful for, like you were saying. And it's like, okay, how can you empower yourself, and how can you move forward from there? But it's like if you don't allow yourself to feel those feels, it's like you're suppressing it, and you're going to start getting triggered over the smallest things. It's like you see someone on Instagram who is like living the life you want or whatever, and that triggers you. You're like, oh well, like why do they get that? Or it's like all these little things are triggering you because you have all of this suppressed emotion, just suppressed emotion that you just need to allow yourself to feel, to release, and then you're able to move forward a lot more easier. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, amazing. And I suppose like coming back to like manifestation in general, it's really important that you don't try figure out the how of what's going to happen, right? And I really like, even with the vision board, right? So I did a vision board. I'll actually show you here. So I did this vision board back in 2020 when I started to explore all of this stuff. And I did this so like kind of randomly, like even right, there's a picture of a woman working in a cafe on a laptop. I had never worked in a cafe before. I get so distracted by working around people that I had this belief I had to like box myself off in my room. Now I've learned noise cancelling headphones help. But I ended up moving to Bali and working in cafes and fucking loving it and being so productive. Like that's such a random one. Or like these are women's circle events and stuff like that. This was before I even had my business, and these have manifested, all come to life. So I'm not going to go through everything on my vision board because it's obviously personal, but the incredible things of this have just come to light that like I couldn't even have imagined how. Some things I've made like a bit more of a specific one for my career this year. Literally within a couple of weeks of making that vision board in January, a few things happened, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, oh my god, this shit's crazy. But so like some things can happen, and some things haven't happened, right? Some things haven't happened, and I went through a real year of like being like, this shit doesn't fucking work. This is a load of shite. And my whole spiritual connection, I suppose, was kind of tainted a little bit for some of that year. And then obviously towards the end of the year it's much better, and now I'm doing Reiki and everything in between. So it's okay to not have a belief sometimes. It's okay to question reality. It's okay to just feel like things aren't always working out for you the way that they're meant to, and that's where I come back to like a higher purpose. So that, like what I just said, if you feel things aren't working out the way that you want them to, sometimes it's for your greater good. Sometimes there is a purpose in that. And looking back at some of the things even last year that didn't work out for me, I can see why now. I can see that something better was coming. I can see that it was forcing me to make a decision to move somewhere else, to contact with certain people or whatever. To be bold, to put me into a situation where I had to take a risk and I had to take action. Like there's so many reasons why, and this is where the co-creating comes into it. Like you are working with the universe and you need to get on board with that aspect, right? And that's where I suppose I'm going in so many things here. So this is where we can come back to surrender and release.
Yeah.
You know, you can set this intention. You can decide this is what you want. This is just decide how you want to feel. Most importantly, tap into the emotion of it. Tap into how it's going to benefit you, serve you, operate at that high vibe, and release it and let it go. Don't hold on to it so much, so tightly, because it will come at that place from lack and want, and you need to come at that place from it's already done. I'm grateful that it's happening. I'm grateful that I've got this vision for my life. I'm grateful that etc etc. Talked on so many topics there about manifestation, but is there anything that you want to add to that?
There was a few things you said, but now I can't remember.
I know.
What was one of them? Oh yeah, because it's as well, but like manifesting. It's like a lot of times, like we think manifesting is just like the big goals, like the job, the career, the relationship, all of this. But it's like we are constantly manifesting in our daily life. It's like, so it is like down to like the vibration you give off. There's all these different laws of the universe. I'm sure everyone has heard of the law of attraction. There's the law of polarity. So what you're saying, it's like sometimes you need to experience the bad or the not so ideal, and that helps you create like new rockets of desires. Like, okay, this, I don't like this situation, but it makes you learn, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want to have in my job. This is what I want my working environment to look like. This is how I want to feel when I wake up. I don't want to feel this way. So it's like, what do you want? What's the opposition? So it helps you gain clarity around what you do want. And as well, like when I was going through like my really low period, it's like at that time I wouldn't have wished that upon like my worst enemy. But I am so grateful for that now, because I wouldn't be like doing what I'm doing, working with women, if I didn't go through that period of my life. And so I really am so grateful for it. And yeah, like even though in that moment it doesn't make sense, like whether it's a few years, few months, whatever, it's like things make sense. You said, you know, why things didn't go your way last year. It's like you can see us kind of once you're out of it. So it is kind of trust the process as well. But yeah, like what I was saying, it's like we're manifesting constantly. So it's like the law of attraction. So like putting it in the simplest of form, like terms, it's like, let's say, like, do you know those days when you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and then like you stub your toe, you spill your tea, and you're like, this is just going to be the worst day ever. So it's like you're putting out that vibration, this is going to be the worst day ever. And then you're stuck in traffic, your boss says something to you, it's like whatever, it's like one thing after another, but it's like you're putting out that expectation. You are like, oh, it's going to be bad. And it's like, okay, of course, what's next? So it's like you're putting out that vibration, so you're attracting that one thing after another, instead of being like, okay, shit, that wasn't ideal, I just spilt my tea. And it's like, give yourself a little moment, but it's like, it's okay. And it's like kind of allowing yourself to pivot and not like feed into it and kind of go down that downward spiral. So it's like manifestation is just these small little things. So I think even around the beliefs. So sometimes it can be hard. Okay, I want to manifest whatever your dream car is. But if you don't have that belief kind of behind it, you're going to like repel it away. So the first thing you do is like start building up your beliefs slowly. So like just manifesting a good conversation with someone, having just fun in your work day, whatever it is. It's like focus on these smaller things. It's like focus on how you want to feel today. I want to have a really productive day, and like kind of feeling into how good it would be if you were productive, or if you just had loads of fun, or like a good conversation. Just break it down to the simple things, because you're like, oh, that actually happened, and you slowly start to build up your belief over time. So that was one thing. And then it's like your belief, if you might actually have the belief, okay, no, like who would I be to own a really fancy car? Like someone like me could never, or it's like, I'm not worthy of that. It's like you could actually have beliefs that are repelling away your manifestations. So, like coming back to an example I gave earlier, like maybe in childhood, it's like your dad was working a lot. So it's like he was constantly coming and going. So that could have created the belief for you that men leave, that like you can't trust men. So that could be showing up in like either your current dating life, your relationship, and it's like you just have this expectation on men, or it's like I'm not worthy of love, or like men are always leaving, and like that's affecting like that. So you're like, oh, manifestation doesn't work, I can't attract in someone else. But it's because of your belief system, because we are running from our subconscious mind. So it's like a lot of our subconscious mind was like programmed during childhood from the age of like 0 to 7. And at that time, it's like it's all through the eyes of a child. So it's like the perception of a child. So like that, your dad was working to bring in income for the family, but like as a child, you're seeing it as, oh, like I'm not good enough for him to sit play with me. He has to go to work, so I'm not good enough for him to spend time with me. It's true the perception of a child. So a lot of times we make up these beliefs that are not serving us, that we are carrying out throughout our daily life. And a lot of the time it's unconscious. Like we aren't aware of this until we do this deeper work and we do the healing, kind of go to the roots and address it from there. And that's kind of when you notice the biggest difference. Yeah, I'll just briefly explain like the conscious and the subconscious to go a bit more into it. So it's like we have our conscious mind and we have our subconscious mind. So think of it like you were driving your car, like your conscious mind, you're like, you sit in, you're like, okay, I want to go here. And it's like you're consciously like turning on the car, going off. But as you're driving, your brain starts to go off in thoughts. You're thinking about how your day is going to go. You're kind of daydreaming. So it's like you you are then driving the car from your subconscious mind, from your program. So it's like basically you're on autopilot driving. So it's like, do you ever guess when you are suddenly like at your destination, you're like, oh wow, I didn't even feel the journey go by, like because you're just off in like thoughts, off in daydream. So every time we are off in thoughts and we are off, like, yeah, our conscious mind is in thoughts, that's when our subconscious mind kicks in. And our subconscious mind is made up of our programming, our beliefs, all of that. So I think the average person 95% of the day is in thoughts. So that's 95% of our day we are run off our subconscious mind. So we are being ran by our programming, which can be from the observations of others, but a lot of it, like I said, comes back to childhood from the age of like 0 to 7, because at that age we are like sponges. We absorb everything around us. We're taking how what everyone is doing, the words they're saying, and like you pick up on energies as well. So like maybe like your parents are always like maybe fighting over money. So it's like you create the belief like money is bad, money is evil, money creates stress, fighting. So it's like that could be affecting your current day reality with your relationship to money. So it all, nearly everything stems back from there. So addressing that is probably the biggest thing, because as well with manifesting, if you're manifesting from your subconscious mind and it's like from your belief system, it's not that the universe doesn't want to give you that thing. It's because you are programmed to believe otherwise that could be repelling it. So yeah.
And yeah, and like I suppose probably people listening have probably heard of this, like about how like lotto winners end up losing all their money because yes, they manifested it and yes, they received it, but their being wasn't the version that could like, I don't want to use the word handle, but like deal with that amount of money appropriately, maybe. And exactly, yeah. So it's not just about like manifesting and woo woo and whatever. It's about like who you are at the core and your beliefs about yourself, like you said, your nervous system and so on. And like I love what you touched on about like how you go about your day and stuff like that, and they can kind of compound from there. And like that's the benefits of like morning routines and checking in with yourself and really assessing where you're at that day. Like recently I heard about two redundancies on the same team. One gal redundancy and she was really upset, but she was like, you know what, this is obviously for a higher purpose, whatever. Gets a job 1 week later. The guy, this is nothing to do with men and women, but the guy got the job and was quite like, fuck this, fuck that, this always happens to me, never gonna work out, but still unemployed. So like, you know, your language and how you talk to yourself, how you talk about yourself. Also, if you just think about like if you're around a really negative person, how that feels in your body, right? Consciously, you might not be thinking about their words that much, but in your body, your energy field, you're a bit like, oh God, they're not really, they feel quite heavy to be around. So you're naturally going to like be a little bit repelled about being around them in future. That's their vibration. That's what they're giving off. That's what they're giving off with their energy and their words. And if you come back to that state of manifestation, like we spoke about, your frequency, your vibes, how you're showing up, that's something that you can, that's something so small that you can work on. You can start to change, like we said, those language tweaks, and how you view certain things. And like, even if we think about like a challenge that you're up against, it's like, again, no, this is something that I'm doing for a certain purpose. This is something that I get to do. This is something, fill in the blanks. And when we start coming from that place, we can start to change and show, not because we need to or we're not good enough as we are, none of that. You're always worthy. And like, we just want to start working towards being our highest self, the best version of ourselves that can achieve this, that can be in this reality, that can manifest and attract all these opportunities and different things. Even if I think about myself in like business, I was like at the start, yeah, by this year I'm going to have this amount of followers, and by this year I'm going to have this, and by this year I'm going to have this. And looking back, is like, why did I need followers? Like, I don't need followers. There's nothing got to do with me loving my job, feeling fulfilled, whatever. But it was just such a naive thing that I thought I needed to have in order to be successful, for example. And that would be me trying to manifest something that's not actually in alignment with me. It was just based on what other people had. And that's a huge thing with manifesting as well. It's like, are you operating from a place of wanting to do because other people are doing it, or because it really aligns with you? And I kind of, I'm using this phrase for the first time ever, but I think I'm a bit of a flexible manifester because I have that trust in like what's going to work out for me. I'm like, okay, I'm set up for this, and like would really love if this happened, but I also know that I've had a few things along the way that I've been redirected towards that didn't work out for reasons. So I'm like, right, would really be sound if y'all could sort this out for me and I could get this opportunity or whatever. But I'm also okay if something different happens, or isn't that what they say? They say, if not this, something better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to add that. Literally what you said. So yeah, it's just kind of trusting, if not this, something better. It's like the universe never says no. It's either not now or yes, or what is it?
Or not yes.
Yes or not yes. So it's like, I'm trying to think of an example with that. So it's like, you're like, oh, I maybe, let's say a partner, you're trying to manifest a partner, but it's like, if you manifested them now, you actually might be able to keep on to that relationship, because maybe there's things you need to learn before that relationship. So it's like trying to rush that manifestation, even though you might actually not be ready, or your nervous system mightn't be ready for that. So it's just trusting the timing. And yeah, like a belief like I really have anchored in is just, things are always working out for me, even when they don't seem like they are. It's like, no, I trust the process. So it's like, even let's say you took the wrong like road when you're driving like to work, and you're in a rush, you want to get there, like, oh, instead of like getting really frustrated, I took the wrong road. It's like, okay, just trusting the process. Maybe you like dodged an accident on that road. It's like, really, I suppose just having that like higher faith and trust, I feel, has been major with me, for not to be stressing over the small things, or when things aren't going your way especially. And it's like, no, I trust everything is going to work out for me. And then you start attracting, yeah, you start attracting that, and you start noticing more and more things starting to work out for you, both big and small. So yeah.
I love that. And like, even if you think about your body and your hormones, if you're in that state of distress because something's not happening for you, you're not going to feel good in your day to day anyway. So if we just even park manifesting for a minute, if you are constantly in your fight or flight and stressed, and feeling overwhelmed, or feeling in a victim mindset, or feeling like you're unsafe, that's going to create distress in your body. Hormonal issues, digestive issues, issues with your relationship with food, issues with your relationships. You're going to continue to show up as that version of yourself every single day. And life is too fucking short to be like, if we come back to that question of I'll be happy when, life's too short to not be spending every day the way that you want to. And that was a big wake up call for me a few years ago, is that I realized that I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. And like, although maybe my current reality wasn't good, I still got to do it another day. Not everyone gets to wake up another day. And, again, going back to those basic aspects of gratitude is like how lucky I am to do that. without suppressing your emotions and toxic positivity. But yeah, this has been such a gorgeous episode. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge. Can you tell people listening where they can learn a little bit more about yourself and how they can get in contact for services?
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so happy you had me on. So I'm mainly on Instagram. It's at Align with Aoife. So Aoife for any non-Irish listeners. I didn't realize how foreign my name was until I moved to Australia. Like anything but.
Okay.
So yeah. Yeah, that's kind of all. So mainly on Instagram, or else like alignwithaoife.com is my website. And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. We will see you on the next episode. And as always, if you found this valuable, share it with your fellow honeys who are manifesting, share it into the group chat. And you know, I really recommend, well, I recommend all podcast episodes I do. I've never actually mentioned this before. Take notes. Take notes. See what you're going to action from this, because obviously this is valuable free content. So take notes. What's your take on points from this message? What from this podcast? What are you going to change in your life? How are you going to show up for yourself with more compassion? Like, notice how this has manifested what we've said. How has this been present in your current reality, in how you talk about yourself, and tweaks you can make with your language, etc., etc. And as always, because this is free content, I'm very much appreciating any likes, shares, subscribes, reviews, etc., etc. No, I really do appreciate it, because it really helps. Obviously, I run this by myself for free, so it's very much appreciated when you do. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye. Woo. Okay, wait, my friend or my VA just said to pause and just do a little smile just for the cover. We were like squeeze in that way. Wait, yeah, maybe come a bit closer so you can get the light a little bit. Okay. Thank you so much.